the people invoked in democracy is the abstract conception or ideal type, and here are the actual people. And most of the time, what they're referring to as the people as an ideal type. And this ideal type, it is assumed that they are people who are capitalist. They have inculcated or they have embodied capitalist rationality. So they are all capitalist individuals. And in earlier times, only minority of actual people were the real rulers or the real people who were allowed to vote, was because they were the only one who came close to representing this abstract conception of the people. But once, through education and through mass murders and through compulsion and other things, when this actually existing people came close to inculcating capitalist rationality, this gap became narrow. Although, since the actual people can never really become totally capitalist, there's always the gap, there's always the danger that these people will deviate from this ideal prototype of the people. So when democracy assumes that these people are actually these people, that they have inculcated, they are all capitalist individuals, they have inculcated the capitalist rationality. Okay, that's the assumption behind the representative democracy. So that's why when the actual people in times don't act like capitalist individuals, then they are actually no longer democratic people, for example, in Gaza or in Iran, or for example. So managed democracies, imperialist, crafted democracies in Iraq is a real democracy because that's a capitalist democracy, or pseudo-democracy in Egypt is, which is actually a dictatorship. Dictatorship is a democracy because it plays by the rule of the capitalist elites or the capitalist system. But the overwhelming popular democracies, even when they are, I'm not saying today it is, in Iran or Gaza, they are not democratic, because by democratic we mean the people are actually capitalists and they will act rationally, that is according to capitalist logic. In a sense, you can understand this with the example of Iranian democracy. So if you say Iranian democracy is Islamic democracy, yeah, and Iranian democracy actually presumes that the people or the citizen is actually, or the voter, are all full-fledged Shia Muslims. That's its assumption of Iranian democracy. And without this assumption, that democracy won't work. And to the extent that the actual people in Iran deviate from being the ideal Shia Muslim adults, then Islamic democracy has to use force and all those things, and in order to keep the actual people in line with the ideal people. Similarly, representative democracy or constitutional democracy assumes that the actual people, are all capitalist people. And this democracy works only on this assumption that actual people are capitalist people. And in developed countries, these actual people come close to being capitalist as much as it is humanly possible. Through education, through propaganda, through media, all that, they inculcate capitalist rationality as much as possible. But obviously, when these actual people deviate in their preference from the capitalist rationality or presumed capitalist rationality, then they have to be managed. They have to be coerced subtly or overtly, depending on how it is possible, in order to keep them in line with the policy dictates of the ideal people or the actual elite, because the actual elite is supposedly representing the people, but the people it is representing is these ideal prototype people, not the actual people. And it represents the actual people only to the extent that these actual people come close to the ideal people.